angels, demons, and fellow weird ones, and welcome to Weird Story Time. What? Living art. Okay. What story am I telling? How many stories do I have? So many. Okay, so we're gonna talk about my living art segment, my portfolio, which is so weird. This is a side note, I guess, but on like the mobile app, it's underneath my blog, it'll have portfolio, and then you can get to everything. And I haven't figured out how to fix that. Because I do all my web design and things. I use a Wix template, but I do pretty much everything myself, just outside of all of those things. So I don't know how to fix the menu on the mobile app, but it is my portfolio, or which is underneath the blog, or if you're on a desktop, which is honestly the best format for Wix, I think. You can see everything. So the living art, I have like the candle curation ages, which is I'd upload of all the candles that I made each year. And that attaches to that yearly cycle of creative healing for me. And it's connected with the spirit, the animal spirit totem of that year. So then you'll see the living art side next to it, and so what is that? That is like self-portraits or other modeling opportunities that I've done for over the last decade, which is crazy. Like some of them go back to 2016, some that I did on my own for in a more personal way, but they were good photos, and it kind of kickstarted a lot of my modeling and artistic expression in that way. It built a lot of confidence for me to do that and put myself out there in ways that I always wanted to. My mom didn't really care for models or modeling that much and that world of things. Because you don't need to be a dumb bimbo. You need to be a smart woman. Where I can understand where she's coming from. I think that's a harmful stigma to put up against modeling. I do think that it's a balancing act because there are bimbos out there. And then I don't want women to compete against women, and I think that we should, embrace the full spectrum of intelligent, like more academic, librarian style women, and the more like beauty queen style women, and know that we're all intelligent and purposeful in our own way. But yeah, so it was hard for me to get into modeling and put myself out there. So like I would do like little photo shoots, but they were for people and private, the guy I was dating or whatever it was. But it was like I kept that part of me like in the shadows and more like in my inner circle. But I love doing it. So every time there's an opportunity to do so, I was. And that was like when I was more of like an adult. It started when I was 19. But before that, even when I was younger, I bought a couple cameras at different points in my life, and I would dress up and do different things with my friends, which I think was very common, very MySpace era of stuff. So it's always been in my wheelhouse of things that I like to do and wanted to do. Then I got more and more into it and like the Instagram thing, but I didn't want to be an influencer, and I didn't want to be an Instagram model. I like modeling and artistic expression, and if I could make money from it, awesome. If it gave me an opportunity, cool. But I really just had fun with it. I like cosplay, I like dressing up. I love the set of it. And I thought that was really cool. But the thing that also is a struggle is like there's a lot of photographers take good photos. They don't know how to guide models and for the portrait. But they expect the model to do the skill. And so then I learned that there's a lot of skill to modeling. Like you can't see yourself. You have to know how to pose. I still don't think I really know how to pose without some direction. That's why I like a lot of my shoots that I do, my self-portraits. I just record a video and I'm just me. And then I do screenshots. I do stills of the video. And I think that not just the candid aspect of it, but it gets me out of my head and I can just flow and be and try to relax, because I get very high strung because I want it to be perfect. I want it to be beautiful. I want it to be everything. And I know that there's beauty in imperfections, and I love unconventional beauty. I think the more that you can promote unconventional beauty, the better, because I think people worry too much about being perfect, and that's why so many women and men are getting so much like crazy plastic surgery. All of us are looking like aliens and robots, and it's going to be obnoxious. I want to keep my humanity. I want to keep my human features, and I don't think that I'm not necessarily against plastic surgery. I'm against it for the wrong reasons. But I do think that there is a benefit to it, just like everything. It's all a spectrum. It's all a spectrum. But so I really started, I really started pursuing like the living art thing. When I started my website, there was a couple things that I did, and I put a few out there. And then after about a year, I decided to upload all of the modeling stuff that I've done, from the more erotic sexual things to the more cutesy innocent ones to the spiritual ones, the full spectrum of everything that I was kind of behind a camera for, and just continuing going with that. I have a lot of fun with it. Even if it's not perfect, like I don't have the best camera setup, I don't have all the best editing tools and Photoshop things and this and that, but I just want to have fun with it. And I kind of like things that look a little campy, like the campy horror with like no CGI, no Photoshop, just genuine special effects and art. I like that shit. I like that a lot. And so I want some of my photography, I say some of it because I like all of it. I want to do a little bit of everything. And I just want to have fun doing it. If it's a fun idea, I want to do it. I don't want to turn down a creative endeavor unless I have a really strong ethical thing. If it goes against like some pretty core principles, then I will turn it down. But if it's just fun and it's not a certain standard of Hollywood or social media content, I don't care. I just want it to be fun. And if it's a little cheesy, it's a little cheesy. Like I have a Bewitched one. It is very cheesy. It's tongue-in-cheek, and that's a pun in a way because it's a full moon. My full moon. So I'm on like a witch's broom, and it's like it is edited in like I want it to be like a really old, like not so maybe a black and white movie, but just like a cheesy old school movie, like kind of special effects. Like yeah, she's obviously like pasted in the stars, and I'm wearing my witch hat and my broom, and then like so it's the naked witch flying on a broomstick. So it goes into some historical expressions of witches, while then also being cheesy, like the Bewitched TV show and movie and all of those other like more modern Hollywood cinematic expressions. Like I just had fun with it. So my living art collections, which I could do story times on each collection. So many videos for those of you who are around, because I have the story time behind, I have the candle stories, and then I have the stories behind the stories of like my weird tales, and now I could do the story behind the scenes of my living art, because everyone, it has a story, an essence, and a theme behind it. There's poems attached to ones. They're connected to certain cycles or themes of my spiritual path and journey, or the astrology, what I'm going through. There are symbolic representations of certain releases that I release through artistic medium, what it represents. There is nudity, and people think that it's this modern OnlyFans thing, and it's not. It's very much ancient Greek, and that understanding that we're all humans, and humans are beautiful, and the body's beautiful, and clothes are an illusion. We don't look at dogs and think that they're naked, even though when my dogs don't have their collars, I do call them naked. But generally speaking, you go outside, you see animals, you're not going out these naked animals. So I think the human body, the naked body, the human body, like that's our natural form, and I incorporate that into my art. And if you sexualize it, that is your own thing, not mine. However, I do know that I don't always help myself, because some of it is like seductive and there is like a sexy element to it. And when OnlyFans started, I did do OnlyFans because I was encouraged to by a lot of people, especially people in the modeling connections that I was, that like all the connections I was in at that moment in time, OnlyFans started, and people for months, it was like at least like 3 to 6 months where it's like, you should do it. You can make money from your modeling. You could do this. You could do that. And I'm like, cool. But like some people use it for porn, but then like you see people, personal trainers are using it. Lingerie models are using it. You see all of this different stuff. And it's like, okay, so I tried it. Then COVID hit, and then everyone was doing porn on it. And the people were trying to push me to do it, and like it became this whole thing where I was gonna get lost in the industry, and I was not gonna get lost down that rabbit hole. I was doing this for an artistic reason, and I'm getting lost in doing it for money, and I'm crossing my own personal boundaries, and I'm just not okay with this. Like, so I had to stop. I wasn't on there very long. I was on there for 4 months. 5 months maybe. I quit and deleted the account, everything, and I don't think it's a positive platform, and I don't agree with a lot of the ways of which sex work is done. Again, I think there's a balance of everything, and I'm not anti-sex work, but I'm also not pro-sex work either. Again, balance of it. And through that experience with OnlyFans is where I kind of started to come to a lot of these conclusions for myself, but also for women. And so that's why I got off that platform. And I do think that there is ways to be empowered in a sexual expression and way. And then I do think that there's a way that you're exploitive and further feeding the problem that is the porn industry and misogyny and all these other things. I think that's another complicated area of problems to work on. And so for me, it's by taking control of doing things the way that I want to do them. Of course, it's finding power in your no, it's speaking your stories and calling things out and not allowing behavior from men or other people, because even women sexualize women, like, and where we sexualize ourselves, and understanding where that's okay because it's a part of the human experience. We're human, we're sexual beings, and so there's nothing wrong with that, but it's making sure you're not exploiting that part of yourself and staying in a state of genuine authenticity for your sexual expression. And sometimes you gotta experiment and explore, and you gotta go through things that weren't necessarily comfortable for you to know where you stand by it. Like, you think you'll be okay with something. People joke all the time about how much money they could make on OnlyFans, or if they just do an amateur porn. But then you do it, and then you realize, like, how you feel, and maybe you don't feel the way that you thought. Grass is not always greener on the other side. And so experiencing different levels or layers of these industries can teach you a lot. I was not that deep in any part of the industry for me to have like any insane, like overly insane experiences. I would say I was more in the shallow end of it. And I know what I wanted it to be and what I didn't want it to be. And so my living art is a way for me to do that in the way that I want to. And like I said, what people do with it is up to them. You're not going to change my self-worth because you saw my natural born body. Or if you even experienced it, like men in the past who are gonna be like, yeah, well, I gotta touch her, I gotta do this. Like, I don't, good for you, I don't care. Nothing gets to take anything away from me. This is mine. And I don't, like, I really had to kind of come to the confidence in that expression of myself and that artistic medium, because it does mean a lot to me. And I would limit myself or maybe change the projects in a way that I didn't originally want it to be, because I was afraid of these judgments and ridicules. Like, I didn't want to be ridiculed for what it is. You know, everyone tells you all the time that if you want to be professional, if you want to do this, you can't do certain things. Well, you know, nude art is definitely one of those things that kind of blacklists you from certain professions. And, you know, people like my brother Cody, he was like, you know, if you want to get naked and write children's books, I don't care. And I was like, shut the fuck up. That is awful. And he thought it was hilarious. And now it was fucking terrible. It is funny. But I was like, no, like, I'm writing fairy tales and fables, and two things can be true and exist at the same time. Like, you can have adult-based content and separately things for all age content. Like, my stories are for all ages. I'm not marketed towards kids. I'm marketed towards people, and parents can introduce some of my art to children. And then when the children grow up, if they choose to like the other sides of me, that's totally fine. But I think, like, we forget it, like, it takes sex to make babies. And even parents who are married and they still have sex and they are parents. So it's like, people need to understand there's time and place and compartmentalization for everything. And things are separate, and you don't have to make it weird. And I can still be professional, I can still be respectful, and I can still be nurturing and motherly. And they all have their role at the right time in the right place. And I think women, you're kind of either put into one. You're the maiden, the mother, the crone. You're not this full spectrum of being. But yet somehow men are. Men are the silver fox and the daddy. Hello. So I think a lot of that as a woman is embracing that duality, or whatever, the polarity within me, that you are all of these things all at the same time, and it's okay to embody all of them. And come into yourself into a state of wholeness. And so that's a lot of what my living art is. Life imitates art, art imitates life, and my whole life is art. I am living art. I think humanity and nature and spirits and souls and existence is all living art. And so I like to express that. And whatever inspires me at the time. I mean, I'll probably never get through all the projects I have in my life, all the projects that I want to get through in my life, because I have so many. But I'm just gonna try to conquer as many of them as possible and keep putting them out into the world, and whatever happens from there, I just hope that it reaches the people that it's meant to, and it invokes some positive change for human evolution and healing. Whether it's just the story of why I do what I do, or if people can see and feel the emotion through the art that I'm trying to express. One way or another, I'm gonna get ya. Okay, so anyway, that is my living art segment. If you have any questions, let me know, and go take a gander at all the portfolios and projects out there. I'm very proud of all of them. I hope you are too. Okay, cool. Thank you. Bye.